When deer go suddenly, completely quiet, no movement, no sound, no approach, something specific has happened. Learning to read this silence could be the most important wildlife skill you develop. Your yard is active. 2, maybe 3 deer are feeding at the feeder. Others are grazing along the perimeter. Movement, activity, the ordinary comfortable energy of animals going about their evening. And then, nothing. Complete stillness descends over the entire yard in an instant. The deer that were feeding a moment ago are frozen, heads up, facing different directions. Or they're simply gone, vanished into the tree line without a sound you could identify. No obvious trigger, no noise you heard, no movement you could detect. But something happened. The deer knew before you did. What causes this, what it means in specific terms, and what you should do when you witness it. That's what this video is about. When deer go suddenly silent and still across a group, they are participating in what wildlife biologists call an alarm cascade, a rapid, largely silent communication system that propagates threat information through a group of animals faster than any vocalization could achieve. Here is the precise mechanics of how it works. One deer, typically the most experienced, most vigilant individual in the group, which is almost always the oldest resident doe, detects something. It may be a scent carried on a shifting wind that the other deer aren't positioned to receive yet. It may be a sound frequency below the range of casual human detection. The particular low footfall pattern of a predator moving through dense vegetation, for example. It may be a movement in the extreme periphery of the visual field that registered below the threshold of conscious attention but triggered a subcortical alarm response. She doesn't vocalize, not yet. Instead, she raises her head sharply and holds that position. This head raise is a biological broadcast, a visual signal that is instantly and automatically registered by every other deer within line of sight. Within 1 to 2 seconds, sometimes faster, every other deer in the visual range of that initial head raise mirrors the posture. Heads up, feeding stopped, ears forward. The alarm state has propagated through the group at the speed of sight. This is a completely silent warning system operating through behavioral contagion, the same neurological mechanism that makes yawning contagious in humans, but calibrated to survival-critical timescales. By the time you notice that your yard has gone still, the alarm cascade has already completed. Every deer present has already been informed that a potential threat was detected and has already adopted the collective assessment posture. What makes this remarkable is that the cascade transmits directional information as well. The orientation of the initiating deer's body, the direction of her gaze, the direction her ears are pointed, is immediately read by the group. The other deer don't just go still. They go still while orienting toward the same general threat direction, even before they've independently detected anything. This is coordinated threat assessment at a group level, operating faster than any individual could process the information alone. Not all deer silence is the same, and distinguishing between the different patterns tells you what the deer have assessed about the nature and severity of the threat. Freeze and assess silence. All deer still, all remaining in position. Nobody is moving toward the exit. Heads up, ears rotating actively, some nose testing into the wind. This pattern means a potential threat has been detected but has not been confirmed to a level that triggers flight. The deer are in an information gathering phase, waiting for additional sensory data to classify the threat. This is the most common type of deer silence you'll observe in a yard setting, and it typically resolves within 30 seconds to 3 minutes in one of 2 directions. Either the deer gradually relax their posture, lower their heads, and resume feeding, meaning the assessment concluded non-threatening, or the tension builds and tips into departure. This type of silence is most commonly triggered by an unfamiliar scent element carried by a wind shift, a distant sound that broke the acoustic baseline, or a new visual element that appeared in the deer's peripheral field. Your house's ambient noise changing, the television going off, a window closing can trigger it. A neighbor's car door, an owl call in the wrong location, departure silence, no alarm blow, no panic bolt, no visible warning signal. Deer simply dissolve. One animal moves quietly toward the tree line, then another. Within seconds, the yard is empty, but it happens so quietly and so gradually that it took you a moment to notice. This pattern signals a known, serious threat, typically a predator species that deer have specific experience with. Coyotes often trigger this response in deer that have encountered them before. Domestic dogs with active hunting behavior. Large cats where they exist. The quiet individual dispersal is adaptive. It makes the group harder to track and follow than a coordinated herd flight. Return wait silence. Trail camera footage shows deer at the property edge, lingering, not approaching, watching the feeding area from a distance and then moving off without entering. They haven't removed your yard from their map. They've classified something in the yard's vicinity as unresolved and are waiting for it to clear before they commit to the approach. Here is the dimension of this relationship that most people never consider, and it reframes everything. You are generating your own patterns of noise and silence that deer monitor and interpret, and those patterns carry meaning to them. A house that is occupied and active produces a predictable ambient soundscape. Footsteps, voices at consistent volume, the sound of the television, kitchen activity, running water. Deer in a yard with a regularly occupied house learn this soundscape as part of their safety baseline for the location. Consistent, predictable ambient human activity sounds, at a level and pattern they've learned to associate with no-threat outcomes, become incorporated into what safe sounds like at that specific location. Here's the counterintuitive implication. A house that goes suddenly silent when it was previously active is registering an anomaly. And anomalies are always flagged as potential threats by prey animal cognition. If you're inside watching deer through a window and you stop all movement, turn off the television, and go completely quiet in an attempt to be less detectable, there's a real possibility that the sudden silence from your house is itself registering as a change in baseline. You may be making yourself more noticeable, not less. This doesn't mean you should make noise while deer are feeding. It means you should strive for consistency in your indoor behavior during deer activity periods rather than dramatic changes in either direction. A consistent, moderate level of household ambient activity is actually safer for the deer's comfort than dramatic swings between active and silent. The deer, over time, are not just learning to tolerate your presence. They're learning to read your behavioral patterns as environmental data about whether conditions are safe. You are part of their threat assessment model. The more predictable and consistent your pattern, the more accurately they can model it, and the more safely they can classify you as a non-threatening background element in their environment. Once you understand the deer silence system and the role your own behavioral patterns play in their assessment, you can begin to use stillness and quiet deliberately, not to hide, but to communicate something specific. When deer go into freeze and assess mode in your yard, when the alarm cascade has activated and every animal is standing still in alert posture, match their stillness. Not hidden, not cowering out of their line of sight, but present and calm. If you're outside, stop walking and stand quietly with relaxed posture. If you're inside, reduce your movement without going theatrically silent. Hold that stillness for as long as the deer hold theirs. Watch what happens. In most cases, you will see the deer's alert level track your own stillness. As you hold calm and still, the group assessment gradually tips toward non-threatening. The ears begin to relax. A tail lowers. One deer takes a cautious step back toward the feeder, then another. The tension dissipates, not because the threat disappeared, but because the background elements, including you, remain stable and non-reactive through the assessment period. You're not using words. You're not communicating in any channel that either of you consciously chooses. You're communicating in behavior, in the presence or absence of movement, in the steadiness or variability of your activity pattern. And behavior is a language that deer read with remarkable fluency. Over months of consistent, calm responses to their alarm moments, your stillness during their uncertainty periods becomes a documented data point in their behavioral profile of you. This particular location, with this particular human present, is associated with consistent, calm behavioral responses during alarm events. That consistency is profoundly reassuring to a prey animal's threat assessment system. It doesn't make you invisible to them. It makes you predictable. And predictable in their world is the closest thing to safe. Your yard isn't just a place anymore. It's a communication environment, one where silence speaks as loudly as movement, where stillness carries meaning, and where your consistent behavioral presence is part of what makes the space feel safe to wild animals that have every reason in the world not to trust anything. Thank you for watching all the way through all 10 of these videos. If they've changed the way you see the deer in your yard, subscribe and leave a comment telling me about the deer that visits you most. I read every single one, and I'll see you in the next video.